congratulations about the film. A great achievement for you all. Just opening question for you all is, in terms of the emotional depth of the film, how important is it in today's realm of horror to have that emotional depth, whether it is grief or another human emotion that so many people will go through at some point in their life? How important is it to have that sort of sucker punch and gut punch from the get-go?
Well, I'll jump in quick.
Yeah.
I think that it really, Jamala, really anchors the film because it makes it relatable. The genre obviously is a horror film, but I think what all of us are trying to achieve are true, honest emotions that audiences can relate to. So I think the horror side of things is very much evident, but the grief and the emotion and the reality of what these people are going through is what the audience can actually engage with.
Mm. And then obviously yourself, Lisa, as the lead in the film, you're going through a massively difficult time, and that is apparent from the get-go. Just in terms of getting into that headspace, it must have been really difficult for you both as well, for you, Martin, as well. I'll come to you in a second. But yeah, for you, Lisa, how are you getting in and out of that headspace, and how healthy was that for you?
Sorry, you froze then. In terms of what?
In terms of getting in and out of that headspace of someone dealing with such a distressing circumstance of grief, how intense was that for you, and how easy was it to get in and out of that headspace offset?
Do you know what? I know this is a weird answer, but I find it relatively quite easy.
Okay.
To get into the headspace of, I find it easier if there's a strong emotional through line to get into that headspace than if there's not. For some reason, I don't know why that is, but that's my honest answer with that.
You weren't taking the weight of that home with you or anything. It was once it was cut, you felt okay, or did it take a while to even snap out of it at some point?
Well, Marty and I were roomies. We shared a house together. Okay. So we did have our nightly debriefs of the day with a beer. So we would talk about it and kind of, neither of us could go straight to bed, could we, Marty? We had to kind of have that debrief before winding down and then heading off, to our separate parts of the house. But some days were easier than others to kind of let go of. But I think at the time I was more kind of, because it was such an intense shoot of only 17 days, I was more, right, what do I have to prepare for tomorrow? I couldn't think of it. I remember saying to Marty, he said to me one night, so, how are you finding the pressure of carrying the film? I went, oh God, don't say that to me. Don't say I'm carrying it. Don't put it all on my shoulders. That's terrifying. I'm literally thinking I'm a guest artist every single day, coming in, doing my day, going home, and then doing another day. So I couldn't think of it as one big thing. So when I got home, we would debrief, and then I would go back to my room and see that I was on top of the next day's schedule. Yeah. I think that was actually after the whole shoot that it then sits with you.
That was so true, Lise, the fact that we were able to share a house and we were working on the film together, and we were able to sort of speak our truth about how we felt about the day, where we felt, especially you, because obviously you did have to carry a huge amount. So us being together in terms of sharing, just sharing and discussing the day, and it was amazing. I loved that, the aspect of being able to talk about it and talk about things we liked and we didn't like, and just being able to be part of it.
Well, that is very comforting.
It was very valuable.
That is very comforting to hear for you both, because I was scared, thinking that both you guys would be going off alone and having to sit and deal with that emotional weight on your own? Because I
Oh
would.
no, we were definitely each other's support, weren't we?
Yeah.
Throughout the whole
100%,
thing.
100%. That was one of the
Yeah.
great things, that we were able to lean on each other. I mean, that was really superb.
And
Yeah.
then just a question for you, Ash. In terms of the films recently that have inspired the film, for me, I don't know if any of you guys have seen Hereditary, but that was a massive. That was one of the most horrifying portrayals of grief I've ever seen, and Ari Aster with his other film Midsummer as well. There definitely is a market to explore, and I don't want to use the word exploit that emotion, but I feel like he did in that film. And was that a sort of choice of inspiration for you guys? And if you have seen it, what did you make of that film?
Yeah, I think it was. I speak on behalf of Justin, the director, but he did reference that film as part of his inspiration, and also A Quiet Place.
Yeah.
As far as the tone and manner and pace, and I think to Justin's credit, he didn't exploit that emotion, but he distilled that emotion. He removed all other emotions and put these characters in an isolated place physically and emotionally for them to go through that pain and find resolution. And I think he did it well. I think it's the film has that sense of air and quality to it, which I hope the audience appreciate.
And just for you two as well, have you seen that film Hereditary? And
I haven't. No, it's on my list, but I haven't seen it yet. But I've seen A Quiet Place, which I loved.
Okay, well, Hereditary, if you need to immediately watch a Disney film afterwards, because it's like you just feel like you need a shower afterwards or something. It's absolutely horrifying, and Toni Collette is incredible in it, and I feel like she should have got a looking at the Oscars for it. To be honest, it was that good of a performance. Have you seen it, Mark?
Yeah.
I haven't, Jamal. I've only seen I've seen a clip of Toni Collette with her son in the car.
Yeah.
There's a clip that I've seen that looked incredible, and I'm keen to see it, but I haven't seen it as yet.
I definitely recommend it. Just for you two as actors, do you study any particular films or performances that are sort of similar to you guys' performance in a lead up to a film, in the lead up to a role, or is it just completely organic? You're just looking at the script and you're bringing it to life based on.
Yeah, no, I personally don't study other people's performances. I watch a lot of films that I like, but I read the script over and over and over, and then the kind of the dialogue goes in kind of subconsciously just from reading it so many times. And then I don't like to learn my lines too early. I like to do it as late as I dare, and then wait and see what the other actors bring to the scene. So I'm, it's fresh and organic, and I don't like making any decisions beforehand, or not too many decisions that I can't, that then get stuck,
That makes sense. That makes sense. Is that the same for you as well, Martin?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Lisa. I mean, I just read the script and then allow my imagination just to be transported with the pictures and the story, really, and just trying to find a part of myself that if I was in that position, I mean, my anchor, I've said it before, was the fact that I have a couple of sons, and I guess just relating to the idea of loss, of ever having any loss of a child. So that's a scary place to go to, but so it's trying to just keep it just as authentic and as and take it out from the script and from what you're given, really. Just let your imagination fly, hopefully.
And Ash mentioned, the importance of not just having the idea of an isolated mind for you both, but you're in an isolated location, pretty much in the middle of nowhere, which enhances will enhance how you feel. And that idea of an isolated location is relevant throughout horror. When you look at Texas Chainsaw Massacre, those types of films. So it also enhances the actual old school horror elements that are in the film, like the supernatural elements and stuff. For you guys, why is the unknown scary for you in the physical sense and not just in the mental sense? Why is the idea of not knowing what's around you so scary?
Because I think the human imagination is far more creative and can dream up far worse things than are ever real. It's I think that your mind can go to the darkest places. And often in reality, the reality of something is never quite as bad as you imagine it is going to be.
Yeah, exactly. It's just that the monkey mind and the Chinese whispers and the games you can play with your own brain that are far more frightening. That goes into, I agree with that.
And for you, Ash, was that something deliberate for you then? Was it, it sort of lays on top of the emotional weight that these characters are carrying anyway. There's the surroundings that are actually physically scary as well.
Totally. 100%, Jamal. That was a big consideration. When Justin and I first discussed the film, it was important. It was important for him and also for myself that, and the biggest criticism with horror films is like, don't go downstairs. Don't go outside. Do not go in the attic. And yet she goes in the attic and he goes downstairs and they get killed. So it was important to create an environment where these characters couldn't live, whether it was from Martin's character perspective, from Lisa's, or from Genevieve's, the other mother. It was critical to the story that Justin and I discussed that they were trapped, and that no matter what was thrown at them, they would stay. And that was really the driving thread throughout the whole story. Then to find that location of the cane fields, I mean, they're just freaky. I'm not sure what your rating is on this webcast, but you'll shit your pants if you're put in a cane field in the middle of the night with those laneways. It is really scary. And then throw in the rustling of dead kids coming out. Sorry, no spoilers, but dead kids coming out of the cane. It's really scary. And so it needed a plausible and realistic story thread for the characters to be staying there. Why would they not leave? And hopefully the film justifies that.
And obviously we're speaking ahead of the premiere of the film at Grimfest, which is a huge horror film festival here in the UK. For me personally, I can speak for myself. My first horror memory was sneaking into Paranormal Activity as a kid in the cinema. And I do that every year. Just in terms of you guys, your first horror memories that maybe shaped the love for the genre that you have now. What is that if we go through all three of you?
Oh, God. My first horror. I think it would be Psycho.
Yeah. Well, poster
the cow scene.
Just there. If you can see it.
Yeah.
That's I mean, I'm looking at a poster behind you, Jamil, which is The Deer Hunter. And I know it's not a horror film, but it had one of the most frightening scenes that I've ever seen as a kid growing up, with the Russian roulette scene.
Yeah.
And the fear that I felt was palpable in terms of the reality of what those John Savage and Christopher Walken and De Niro. I mean, it was incredibly scary because it was happening.
Yeah.
That's the key. I mean, as long as these things are sort of anchored in some sort of reality, it makes it frightening.
Yeah, I think there is a lot to learn from like real life circumstances in terms of the way you can generate horror. Because like you said, Deer Hunter's not a horror film, but it has one of the most horrifying sequences in cinema that any horror director could learn from in terms of tension building.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go on, Ash. What's yours?
I had an older brother, so I had a terrifying double DVD, or sorry, VHS days.
Yeah.
A double VHS rental from Video Easy, I think it was. Cujo and The Exorcist, and it scarred me forever. I'm not really a fan of horror, but I recognize the audience and try to help creatives craft something that speaks to them.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool to hear. Just in terms of the state of the genre, you know, I mentioned how we are sort of in a renaissance of horror where it is sort of the emotional weight of the film first, and the horror is an afterthought after that, because the weight of what is going on is so overbearing that the tension rises with what the characters going through. Do you think that is the most powerful form of horror? You know, we're going away from the slasher era a bit, and then we had the era of found footage and the Saw era. Do you think we're in like the maybe a new golden age right now?
Yeah,
I think so.
I think the more character-driven horrors are far more interesting. I think it just gives a whole other level to them, and another layer that never used to be there. It always used to be, growing up, you know, horror movies where the characters you could kind of point, oh, well, they're redundant, they're going to get killed first. Do you know what I mean? You could kind of pick them off which one was going to go first. Whereas now, I think it's much more, it also makes you invest in the characters more. So when they do get killed off, it's more shocking and more, and you know, you're more upset by it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
People you can relate to. I mean, that's the most frightening. Where, you know, it's somebody down the street, it's your neighbor, it's the man from the shop, anybody. I mean, that makes it, for me, much more frightening because it's
or close to home, or it
rather
could happen.
than a sort of grotesque animal. Yeah.
Exactly. Just for you guys, as actors moving on from this film now, did you guys pick whatever was coming ahead now? Was it, right, I need to get away from something as meaty and emotional as that, I want to do something a bit more with an enjoyable character? Or was it more like, oh, I'm actually enjoying that feeling, I'd like to sink my teeth into something similar again straight away?
Marty, go. Yeah.
Okay. It's just the work, Joel. It's just the work. It's just working with great people on great scripts. You know, I mean, we were incredibly fortunate with this film. 17 Days. We had Ash, we had Justin, we had an amazing lead in Lisa, and everybody just stepped up. And I think that any actor, producer, or director would just want to work on great material with great people. In terms of genre, it doesn't really matter. It really does. I mean, if I get a script, I always look at who's involved, what's the material like, are we going to enjoy this, can we do something with it? But it's whatever, it's the best material. And if you're fortunate enough to be asked or get into the film, it's a thrill of a lifetime, because, you know, as an actor, it's up and down, and you know, we never know what's going to happen. So this was a gift. I mean, we had an incredible team on this film with, as I said, with Ash and Justin and Lise. So independent films, the best.
Yeah, it really was a treat to work with all these people, wonderful people, and we were like a family. So it will always have a very special place in my heart for that experience and that time we all shared. So God, if another experience like that comes around the corner, I would jump at it. Yeah.
And then this is another question for all of you. Just first up with the actors, and then for you, Ash, in the same way. For you as actors, what were the biggest things you learned from your characters in terms of maybe something that made you look at life a bit differently based on what they went through? And then for you, Ash, just based on the subject matter of the film, did anything make you look at life a bit differently after the film had wrapped on it?
Yeah, totally. I'll jump in there while it's fresh. For me, you know, Hannah needed to find her dead child, and I needed to get this film produced, and both of us would stop at nothing to achieve that goal.
Okay. Persistent.
Over to you, Lisa.
That made me really laugh. I guess for me, I've experienced. Sorry.
I was expecting a really deep answer then.
I know. He's just coming in with like a one-line tagline.
Yeah.
I've experienced grief in my life. I had a very concentrated amount of it all in a few months, and I remember at the time thinking, "Gosh, you know, I'm not going to take life for granted, or you know, life is short, and I've got to really kind of cherish every moment." But then as life goes on, you kind of forget that feeling. It feels very intense and very like, I'm never gonna, you know, take it for granted again. And I think playing Hannah made me realize that. And yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I just love the process of making films, being part of that. So I don't know about I learned from John, but you know, it's just, you know, just to be able to make films and to be part of it. Honestly, it's just such a treat, and let's keep doing it. I mean, I don't know what it's like over in Britain and elsewhere, but we're all such firm supporters of independent cinema, and you know, whether I'm involved with it or acting in it or others are involved with it, I just want it to flourish, because you know, it obviously it goes through so much turmoil in terms of threats from other larger productions, that if we can just keep this independent stuff going, it's so important. And there's so much talent, you know, there's so much talent available, not only in Australia, but I'm sure over there, that we've just got to keep pushing that. So yeah, more scripts, more opportunities, I think, for everyone.
Yeah. Here.
Obviously, the lockdown situation, you know, everyone's been going on constantly of how it could be affecting the film industry and stuff. And I'm sick of seeing it, to be honest, because we all know when this is over that cinema isn't going to die. You know, people are still going to be going actively to the theaters to watch films. But just for you guys, does it ever get a bit disheartening when you see, I don't know whether you read the headlines or anything, but it seems like every week people are questioning whether things are just going to go to streaming full pelt. And it is one of my favorite things to do in life, to go to the theater and queue up and watch a film on opening night.
I think nothing will replace that group experience that you have. It's like going to the theater. It's where you're all laughing at the same thing at the same time. There's something unique about that you can't get at home watching it streaming. So I don't think that will ever go away. I think there's always going to be that need, you know, to have a collective experience.
Absolutely, and exactly, Lisa, and that communal experience is second to none. And the emotion in a cinema is palpable. I mean, whatever the genre is, as human beings, we're all sitting there with our choc tops or our popcorn, and you can just sense it. You know, you can sense that.
You won't know what a choc top is.
No.
Oh, it's an ice cream.
Okay.
Oh my God, you're missing out. You've got to try a choc top.
Chocolate all over the top.
Oh wow.
It's a chocolate ice cream basically, but it's very Australian. But that thing, you, as you say, I mean, you just can't replace that. That is just so important.
I think it's part of the human spirit. It's been around since the beginning of man and womankind. You know, we sat around the fire and we told stories about that giant dinosaur that I chased down the road. You know, and here we are talking about a faraway world in visual effects, or an emotion that we share. It's part of our psyche. Young, old. You know, it's isn't it? It's global. I think that feeling, and it will it will never go that need to be in a collective space and hear and tell stories.
Yeah.
100%. I completely agree. Just wrapping this up, how would you guys individually summarize the film, and what if there was one reason why you would tell a friend to watch the film, and no cheeky answer saying just because I'm in it or just because I'm involved in it. I want to know it in terms of an experience or something like that. Why you would tell someone to watch the film, and what's the best thing someone could get out of watching this film?
So, Ash.
Good question.
Me? Okay.
You first.
I would. Thanks. I would say, for British people, I would say to go and see this film, because for an Australian film, I think it shows a side of Australia. Visually, it shows a side of Australia that I had never seen before, that that I wouldn't associate with Australia. And I think there's just some beautiful camera work gone into it, and some beautiful actors involved in it. And I think it is a wonderful story of two mothers dealing with grief in very, very different ways.
Yeah.
Marty?
Well, I mean, I think it's extraordinary. I mean, the aesthetic, obviously, you know, the performances from the actors and everybody involved, but the aesthetic that Tim Tregoning has created with the look of the film, considering the amount of money that Ash and Justin had, was really extraordinary. It just looks like a very expensive film, but it's on a very small budget. And I think that's an incredible feat, and that's incredibly encouraging for a lot of young filmmakers, or any filmmaker, that it is possible that you can make a quality film of this standard. And I think that's been achieved with this. So I guess that's the thing that really stands out for me, is that it's a beautiful piece of work done on a shoestring budget. So yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with both of those comments. It's a proper story. It's got a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's anyone with a mother should really go and see this film. It's beautifully crafted. It's beautifully shot. Incredible performances. I'm forever grateful to the entire cast and crew. It's an audience won't be disappointed. You should go and see it.
I really appreciate your guys' time. And appreciate all the work that went into the film, like you've all mentioned there. You know, visually it was incredible in terms of a cinematography perspective, and you guys should be proud of your performances and what you achieved on the film. Then I really appreciate your time.